Yes, it's that time again. Dugout chatter with Willie Bloomquist from Grass Clippings Rolling Hills on KDUS AM 1060. Braiden Bell alongside the head coach of Arizona State Baseball, Willie Bloomquist. First off, Coach, a beautiful backdrop yet again, and we're going to dive right into it talking about the conference opening weekend against TCU. Winning 2 out of 3, it was a good weekend, and it was a historic weekend offensively for the final 2 games. But start off with Friday night, a 3-2 loss, and in one of those pitchers' duels where the wind was blowing. You would have thought it would have been a high-scoring game because of that, but both starters were in the zone, and it ended up being one of those games that was frustrating because you couldn't find that big hit.
Yeah, it was, from an offensive standpoint, pretty frustrating. Pitching did their job and kept us in there. A nice low-scoring game with, again, the wind was 30 miles an hour going out to left field, and we just thought this was going to be a one of those back and forth, a lot of runs scored type game, and offense forgot to wake up that day, and that was the second game in a row. Dating back to the game before that down south, we didn't really show up down there either, and I got a little bit frustrated. And we had a meeting after that and kind of explained to them what we were looking for as a coaching staff in so many ways, and they, to their credit, they responded in a big way the next day, and it was it got pretty ugly there. We had to call the dogs off in about the 5th inning and stop stealing and that type of thing, and it still, the runs just kept piling up. I think we were up at one point 24-0. It
was a football score.
It was 3 touchdowns plus a field goal. I think we were up on them, but that's not saying we got to put up 25 runs every day, but when the offense is locked in, and I believe that's what they're capable of doing, swinging the bats the way they were and just sticking to an approach, it was fun to watch.
You mentioned that bounce back after a little bit of a butt chewing on Friday night from your group. I mean, what did that really show about your team's resiliency? I know that was a few games ago now, and there was another tough offensive night yesterday against USC, but flashing back to Saturday, what did that really say about the makeup that they do have the potential to put up numbers like that?
Well, it's both good and bad. It's good, the fact that they'll respond to getting their fannies chewed a little bit, but on the other hand, it gets a little frustrating from my standpoint. It's like, man, you guys are this good or have a potential to be this good. Does it take me kicking you in the fanny every day to do this? At some point in time, we got to get self-motivated and be able to lock in on a daily basis and do what we're capable of doing. And when we get there and when this team gets there, it's going to be a heck of a lot of fun. But, things to improve upon still. We still got things to work on, and we still got to keep pushing.
So it was an 0-for-7 night with runners in scoring position on Friday, but then program records basically on Saturday. As you mentioned, 26 runs. It was 24-0 at one point, but you ended up winning it 26-9. It was the most runs scored against a P4 opponent since the year 2000 when you said that against Arizona. Most allowed by TCU ever, obviously a very proud program as we discussed last week. Approach-wise, offensively, what was the difference in that game?
Just staying above the zone, ready to hit the fastball, getting pitches up in the zone and being aggressive. And for me, I don't do well with guys that are in the batter's box timid and aren't ready to hit. We have to be ready to go when we get in the batter's box. And the other thing is just getting pitches above the zone to where we're not chasing balls down and grounding into double plays and swinging and missing those pitches that are down low. We have to make sure we're up in the zone, and those are the pitches that we can drive and do some damage with. And they executed it about as good as you could on that Saturday.
What was the mojo like in the dugout? I mean, when you're putting up numbers like that early on in a game, I'm gonna ask you about Jack and his ability to stay locked in on the mound. But in terms of the dugout, what were the vibes like during that long extended rally in 2 innings in a row of crazy offense?
Well, it gets contagious.
Sure.
When you see it, go into effect and some guys execute it, and then it just keeps rolling. Kyle Walker set the tone, obviously, with a home run. Not that I expect him to do that, but that got everybody kind of going, and it's all of a sudden the next 2 or 3 guys are spitting on breaking balls below the zone, and it's like, wow, this really works. Everything that these coaches have been trying to shove down our throat for the past several months actually works. So when you see it start taking off and guys executing it, and then the next guy has confidence to go up there and do it, it just becomes contagious. And then when that happens, it just starts rolling. And same goes for guys in the mound. When they see that the plan of attack is execute, pound the zone, and put away late, and it starts coming to fruition on the mound, and pitchers start getting confidence. The same thing; it becomes very contagious. So that's when I know this team has a chance to be very good, when we start clicking on all cylinders, and they get that desire to froth at the mouth to win every single game. We can. I believe we can. So once we get that and start clicking on those cylinders and becoming contagious, it'll be this team will be a lot of fun to watch.
We had a surprise cameo about an hour before we started recording from Jack Martinez, who's now officially a friend of the program since he joined us last week. He was actually here, Coach. He was over at the food truck. I think some friends of his were playing around or something, and I was asking him about his mentality during that Saturday game, being the starting pitcher. And obviously you always want run support, but to get that amount of run support, he said it was a little bit odd. He was having to tell himself it was 0-0 every single inning to go back out there, because he said a lot of times in a high-scoring college baseball game, you'll see it be 25-24, not 24-9, which it was, or 26-9, I should say, is the final score. What does that say about his maturity mentally, specifically, to stay in that game and pitch as well as he did after sitting in the dugout for like 30 minutes at a time while the offense is humming?
Well, that can be extremely difficult for a pitcher to stay locked in mentally, and not only that, but physically, right, to where some of those innings are 20, 25 minutes long, and he's sitting in there, trying to throw a heavy ball against the wall just to keep his arm loose and keep his mind locked into what he has to do. And, that's just a tribute to really how special he is not only a pitcher, but mentality-wise on what he's capable of doing. To be able to do that is just really, it's really special. And I think he put up 6 zeros, there for us. And to do that and to stay that mentally locked in with that amount of runs scored, it's just a tribute to him. He just did a phenomenal job.
So the video game-like numbers on Saturday, and then a little bit of a relapse offensively at the beginning of the game Sunday. I know we talked about that during BP yesterday before the USC game. 1 run through 5, but then the approach changed again. I know you had a conversation with your guys. 11 runs in the final 4 frames to win it on Sunday. The Brody Briggs game, if you will, a couple of huge home runs, his first 2 of his collegiate career, including a grand slam and a 3-run shot. 7 home runs, the most by a Sun Devil in any game this year. But in terms of Sunday, I guess the first few innings offensively, not what you wanted, but then you clicked it back into where you were Saturday for the final 4 frames.
Yeah, and I give credit where credit's due. The kid that started on Sunday, Noah Franco, he's tough, man. He's a lefty that's 94, 90 up to 97 miles an hour, left-handed, has a pretty good breaking ball. So I don't minimize that and say hitting is easy. It's very difficult. However, if you stick to an approach, it gives you the best chance for success. And even when he came out of the game, the next arm that came in I thought was much more hittable, and we just were kind of being lazy again. And so they needed I actually didn't have this one. Jason, I told him, you better meet him, you better pull him up and get him going. He's like, well, how many times I got to tell him? I said, as many as it takes. You have to keep him going. And so he got into him a little bit, and they responded again very well, and were able to put up some crooked numbers there late and add on runs late, and we needed every single one of them as it turned out.
A big critique of college student athletes at this point is that they can't take a butt chewing. It seems like your group can, and they respond well to it.
Well, they're an older group. They've had their butt chewed before, and usually if you're in college for 3 or 4 years, it's pretty tough to go fall through the cracks and not get your butt chewed a time or two. For me, it's they need it once in a while. I don't enjoy doing it. It's not necessarily my style, but if that's how this group responds, then they're going to keep getting their butt chewed until they just continue to do it on their own. But I don't like doing that, but it's necessary once in a while, and they need a wake-up call. And the fact that they are able to respond that way, where last year's team did not. For example, I'd get into them a little bit, and they a little bit crawl into a shell, to where they were much better when I just backed off and just let them go play last year. And that's when they kind of caught fire the second half of the year, and away they went. But this year's group seems to be a little bit different on, sometimes they need a little bit of shaking to get going. But I think they'll figure it out. They'll start getting hopefully a little bit more self-motivated, and we can lock in for extended periods of time and do what we're supposed to do.
I find that fascinating. Is that something you find just trial by error, knowing how your squad responds over time? How do you kind of sense the makeup of a group, especially in today's landscape where the roster can look so different year over year?
It just kind of trial and error a little bit, I think, is how it starts, and then you kind of start getting the mentality of your leaders of your team and what they're like, what they're about. You hope to get a little support from them as well, because I can't police everything, and the coaching staff can't police everything, but you get your leaders in the clubhouse that hopefully step up and respond and understand that, okay, guys, we've got to get it going a little bit, and then they take the lead on it, and away we go. So, it's tricky in this landscape of transfer portal and bringing new guys in every year, and that's it's our job to try to bring in the right mentality of guys that are okay with that and that ultimately respond to it and respond to tough situations. Because if we're going to get to where we want to get to, it's not going to be an easy road. We're going to have plenty of potholes and plenty of times where we got to respond to adversity. And if they can't respond to a little bit of a tongue lashing once in a while, how are they going to respond to a tough situation in a game? So the way that they're responding, I'm not surprised, but hopefully they can not make this a habit where I have to do that to get them going.
Save the vocal cords.
That's right. That's right.
I think all things being said, though, you sit here, you win 2 of 3 at TCU, a very difficult place to play, a very solid program over time, a solid start to conference play, all things said.
Yeah, it was. Obviously, I'm selfish. I'm greedy. I wanted to get all 3 down there, but coming away with 2 down there in that place, that's they're good. TCU is a very good program, and they're very well coached, and they went on and beat Dallas Baptist yesterday. It was a top 15 program right now, and the fact that the games that we won, we did it in pretty convincing fashion. We gave up runs late to make it a lot closer in both those games than it was. But on Friday we just one more clutch hit, and we have a chance to sweep that series. But to come away with 2 wins, it's a good start.
Good start indeed. Last one for you, Coach, in this first segment. Our next guest, Matt King, will be joining us up here. Boy, what an addition he has been to this ball club in terms of what he's brought with his experience, like we just talked about in your group, and then also just with his bat. A very tough guy to strike out. What have you thought about his start to the season, what he's brought to the program?
Yeah, he's done a great job, for us. Just having that experience in the middle, no panic in his game, just knows what type of player he is, and he's just Mr. Steady, kind of out there at shortstop. Trying to mix in, those 3 or 4 guys in the middle has been a little bit of a challenge. But, whether I DH Matt or have him play short or maybe even slide him over to third every now and again, he doesn't care. He just wants to play. And he does his job when he's out there. And we've made a couple minor mechanical adjustments with the swing that has really paid dividends lately. And, he's starting to find his groove offensively as well. But, I think as a whole, our coaching staff as a whole, if we have the game on the line and need a ball hit to somebody, we want to hit to him. He's going to make the play, and we're confident in him with what he does out there defensively.
Steady-handed, I think at times, before the season you guys described it, it was almost boring how he can make plays just look so simple defensively. He'll be joining us here at the table when we come back on Dugout Chatter. We'll hear from Matt King on the Sun Devil Radio Network. And we're back on Dugout Chatter with Willie Bloomquist from Grass Clippings Rolling Hills on KDUS AM 1060. Braiden Bell, and our next guest is a senior infielder from Houston, Texas, a guy who takes pride in his work, and a first-year Sun Devil by way of UTSA. Welcome, number 2, Matt King, to the program. Matt, first off, thanks for being here, man.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So here we are, man. First year as a Sun Devil, and you just heard Coach say great things about the addition you've brought to the program, but what's the adjustment been moving to Tempe and settling here in the Valley?
I mean, it's been awesome. Everything about Tempe, I love it. My teammates, I love my teammates. They've been welcoming, and it's been a pretty easy adjustment, and it's been great.
So you played a ton of games over your career. Really took over the starting shortstop job at UTSA your freshman year. I want you to kind of think back to that first moment you found out at UTSA you were going to be the starting shortstop early on your freshman year. What were the butterflies like when you first initially found that out?
It was pretty surreal, playing as a freshman, starting as a freshman. It's like a dream come true. And, that's what I really looked forward to going there. I really wanted to, be on the field my freshman year and start and get that experience. So it was definitely some butterflies, and, it was great. I loved my time there.
Do you still get butterflies before games now, even as an experienced guy like you are?
I would say yes, butterflies, but like more in a controlled manner. I think, being more experienced, it's not, I can control it a lot better. So.
How about playing here at Muni? I mean, you've had some huge crowds. Think back to that opening weekend series against Ohio State. Even last night against USC for a midweek, it was packed. How much does that mean to you and I guess the rest of the team to see the support you guys have gotten so far this year?
It's definitely awesome. Playing in front of the fans, we love it. It helps us bring more energy to the game. And, it's not something I've experienced before. So that's pretty cool for me to play in front of these fans. I would only get to play in front of, big crowds in like midweeks when I'd go on the road and, play a team like Arizona State or Texas or, something like that down there. So it's been awesome to play in front of these fans.
I think in terms of American sports, the premier positions, you obviously think quarterback and then you think shortstop. So for a young kid growing up right now who wants to be a starting shortstop at a school like Arizona State, what does it take to be a really sound defensive shortstop?
Well, first off, you got to take pride in it. That's something I hold in my heart. I take pride in my defense, and I feel like that's what got me to college in the first place was all the hard work since I was young. My dad taking me to practice like hours before practice, getting hundreds of ground balls before we even started practice. So I feel like just putting the work, and good things will happen.
You mentioned your dad, and I think every single player, single student athlete, whether it's baseball or any other sport, they have a backstory. They have a person, whether it's a parent, it's a family friend, it's a high school coach, a reason why they got to the level they're at. For you, was that your dad?
Oh, most definitely. I mean, every time I asked him to take me out or, go hit balls, hit me ground balls, he's never said no. He's always been there for me. And the support system I have is great. They're always here watching me, and that's definitely why I'm here today.
Let's say if they're not at a game, are you talking to them right after the game, or do you need a minute to cool down? What's the process like there?
Well, it's very rarely that they're not at the game.
Okay.
It's either my dad there, or my mom there, or someone's usually there for me. So, but yeah, if they're not there, I'm definitely talking to them after the game and getting their thoughts and just having that support from them.
So they're getting the frequent flyer miles from Houston to Phoenix a lot this year, then. Huh?
Definitely, yeah. My dad's at all the home games, and my mom's Christmas present every year is away tickets to go to the away games. And,
I love it.
Hotels and stuff like that. So they make it work for sure.
That's awesome. Okay, so we talked about defense. I want to get your approach now offensively because you're a smooth defender, and then you also are something that has almost become a lost art, especially when you watch Major League Baseball now. You're really tough to strike out. Just 5 Ks in 58 at-bats so far this year. You've talked about your two-strike mindset, and I think every hitter has a two-strike mindset to a certain extent, but describe yours and what your version of that is.
Well, first off, my mindset is, I don't want this guy to beat me. It's me versus him. That's the first thing I think when I step in the box is it's me versus him, and it's competitive. And so, I mean, when I get to 2 strikes, there's no panic. Before I get to 2 strikes, you can't be afraid to get to 2 strikes also. I feel like that's a big thing. If you're afraid to get to 2 strikes, you're going to strike out. But, yeah, my approach with 2 strikes is just see the ball a little deeper, see it up, and, see it as deep as possible while still being able to hit it. So, and that helps with pitch recognition and swing decision.
I'm curious, Willie mentioned this, and we've obviously seen it already this year. We've seen you at short, of course. We've seen you DH like last night. We've seen you or potentially see you over at third in the hot corner as well. Mentally for you, knowing that, you could be just DHing, you could be playing short, you could be over at third. What's that been like for you this year?
It's been cool. I want to do anything I can to help contribute win with this team. We have a great team, a lot of talent, a lot of depth, and a lot of guys that could do, help this team win. And I just want to be a part of it. So wherever I'm in the lineup, I just want to contribute and help win that game.
As a guy who played 4 years of college baseball at another program, I was thinking about this because of last night, USC with all the national championships they have, obviously ASU and the 5 national championships and all the trips to Omaha and the amazing names you see in left field in the billboards with the retired numbers. How attractive and cool is that to see from an outsider's perspective and now being inside the program, just the history that ASU baseball has?
It's definitely awesome. One of my favorite players, Dustin Pedroia, went here. That's one guy that I looked up to when I was younger. Watching him, trying to style my game around him. Just the grit, the tough, defense, hit, kind of a complete player. So that's kind of what I aspire to be.
Gritty and tough, I think, are perfect ways to describe Dustin Pedroia, whether it was at his time in Tempe or in Boston. What else stuck out about Petey and the way he played?
Just like I said, when I was younger, he was my favorite player because he was the smallest guy on the team.
Sure.
and he stood out the most. He played with the most heart, and I feel like that's always resembled with me. When I was a kid, I was always the smallest player, playing up and with older guys, and so I think that's probably why I liked him the most.
You think that helped you out playing with older guys when you were younger?
Definitely, my dad always had me playing up, playing against better competition. I feel like that's part of the reason why I'm here also.
I want to talk about your middle infielder mate when you're out at shortstop, Kyle Walker, who you are so smooth defensively. Kyle is as well, but he's also got that swagger, it seems like, at second base. How much fun is it being up the middle with him?
It's definitely fun playing with him. He knows where I'm going to be at, and I know where he's going to be at. And we have each other's back. We're talking to each other pre-pitch, communicating. And we're always together. If you see him, you probably see me. So it's been definitely fun. We're both from the South, and we kind of just get each other. So it's been awesome being with Kyle.
And that chemistry isn't built overnight. Obviously, that's something you might not hear a lot in terms of things that are important, but middle infielders, you got to be, like you said, communicating before pitches. You got to know where the other one's going to be pretty much at all times. How long did it take that chemistry to kind of get going between you two?
I wouldn't say it was right away, but it kind of felt like it. We were playing inter-squads together, and everything just felt natural. It felt good. And I have nothing but great things to say about Kyle. We've been through it together, and we're just having fun together out there.
So you're back in your home state of Texas, and I know we already kind of reviewed the series with Willie in the first segment, but how special was it to be back and playing at TCU? Of course, a storied program, now as a conference foe. A little different feel. You get that weekend series vibe. How cool was that for you?
It was awesome. I had a lot of loved ones out there, a lot of supporters for me out there that showed up and got to watch me play. So it was really cool being out there to start off in Texas in the Big 12. Yeah, it was awesome. It was a different feeling. It felt great, going to get 2 or 3 from them.
So on Saturday, those 28 runs, first off, you ever been a part of a game like that?
I have.
Okay.
But probably about a couple years ago, I think we scored 31 in a game.
Unbelievable. So when you're a part of a game like that, I know you always hear hitting is contagious. First off, do you agree with that statement?
Oh, 100%. Good at-bats, taking good pitches, good barrels, definitely contagious.
What led to that success in that game? I know it's easy to say, like you guys were just stringing together quality at-bats, but did you guys have a feeling you might have a really solid game offensively before that got going?
Yeah, I would say, the Friday night loss, it stung. It stuck with us. And we didn't have any panic or anything, but we definitely knew we need to step up and get this win on Saturday. And so I think that really, made it click for us. And we just stuck to the approach the coaches gave us. And that's what really started it.
I want to ask you about your leadership in terms of what you bring to the table, because it's something that coaches talk about. We've heard coaches talk about it in press conferences and stuff leading up to the season. I'm making the assumption here you're not the loudest guy in the room at all times, but you are a really solid leader. How much pride do you take in having that role, especially in a new program? That's not always easy to come in, even though you are an experienced guy, but to come in and take on that leadership role.
Yeah, I definitely take pride in, doing things the right way, doing the right things day in and day out, getting my work in, not skipping anything. So I feel like if you do all the right things, good things will happen to you.
So you mentioned Dustin Pedroia already, and that's a perfect guy to talk about work ethic and pride, and I think that's a reason why fans can kind of relate to you. You can see just by watching you play, you have this passion for the game of baseball. Where did that really come from in terms of your passion and love for the game? You talked about your dad already, but why baseball? Like what makes it tick for you?
Why baseball? Probably because how competitive it is and just loving the game. You gotta I love perfection, but this is a game you can't perfect, and so I love each and every day trying to perfect it, and I think that's what keeps me going. Is you can't perfect it, but I want to be that person that can perfect it, but it's hard. So I think that's what keeps me going. Just love for the game and love to get better every single day.
Okay, and I'm going to put you on the spot here to close out this interview. It is, of course, baseball season, and we love that, but we've got March Madness up on the TVs. It's March Madness as well, and I understand you played some basketball in high school. Who you got in your bracket?
I haven't made a bracket yet. I actually have
What are we doing?
I have to make one for my dad later. Apparently his friends are making him make a bracket, so I need to go make his.
And you're going to make it for him?
Yeah.
That sounds like something my dad would do as well. You have an idea of who you're going to pick?
I have no idea. I don't even know who's in the tournament, honestly.
Well, you're locked in at baseball, and I don't blame you for
yep.
that. But certainly, excellent stuff. Matt King, he's been a pleasure to watch, man. I'm assuming you're pumped up. Your parents both be in town this weekend?
Just my dad, and then my mom will fly in next week. They're going to make the trip to Utah, and they're going to go snowboarding out there, actually, while we play. So that'll be pretty cool.
I like that Christmas gift that your mom gets. That's one that rolls over the rest of the year pretty much. That's awesome.
It's definitely a good gift to give.
All right.
Good gift to have.
Well, big thanks to Matt King for joining us on Dugout Chatter with Willie Bloomquist. We're going to step aside, take a time out, and when we come back, Lucas Kelly will join us on the program. Back on Dugout Chatter with Willie Bloomquist from Grass Clippings Rolling Hills on KDUS AM 1060. And from a smooth infielder to a lights-out bullpen arm, our next guest has already wowed through his first 10 appearances in maroon and gold. He's a right-handed pitcher from San Francisco, California. Junior Lucas Kelly joining us on the program. Clap for you as well, man. First off, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So, yeah, you're a new pitcher here. Your first 10 appearances. You have not allowed a run. Seems the numbers would suggest it's been just about perfect. But in terms of breaking down how your start has gone, how would you sum it up?
I think just taking every outing one at a time. Just going through your preparation, your routine, and just treating every day as a new day. Have a good outing, enjoy it. But as soon as the next day comes, just on to the next one.
How much do you try to ride that momentum you have while also maybe tweaking things? Are you in a good spot mechanically? What's kind of that process like in terms of watching back outings you may have just had?
I mean, I think Accardo put us all in a good spot. I think right now you're just, by the time you get out there, you're kind of just in flow state. The mechanics are all good. I think the most important part is just keeping confidence every outing, one at a time.
You mentioned Jeremy Accardo, and I wanted to ask you about him a little later in the interview, but we'll do it right now since you just brought it up. In terms of what he's done for this pitching staff in year one, I know Willie's talked a lot about how he's an optimistic guy. He's kind of able to lift you guys up in the bullpen and the pitching staff as a whole. How much have you enjoyed learning from Coach Accardo and having kind of his mentality in the locker room?
He's awesome. I mean, he's just a joy to be around. He's a positive guy, never a downer. I think he's really good for the younger guys. He's just making sure they're keeping their confidence, doing their work. But it's awesome going to work every day and just loving the guys around you. And I think he's just a great leader for the bullpen and the pitching staff in general.
In terms of this bullpen unit as a whole, I mean, you guys have nasty stuff, especially on that back end. Obviously, you've been doing your thing. Schaefer's had a really strong start to the season. Even a Will Koger, who has had a few ups and downs. He has nasty stuff from the right side. Talent-wise, have you ever been a part of a group? I know you started at A&M in your college career, but this has to be one of the more talented groups you've ever been around.
Oh, much more talented. I think as far as righties and lefties and arm angles, we can attack you at every angle. And I think just like the hitters right now, like we're not even there yet, which is the craziest part. Yeah, a lot of talent. I trust every single one of these guys when they go in the game. So it's going to be a fun season, but I just can't wait for everybody to figure it out and just go out there and compete.
It's one of those, when it clicks, look out,
Yeah.
right? Mm-hmm. I'm curious about going back to the positivity of Jeremy Accardo, and it seems like it's so great for a pitching coach to be that positive guy because it's such a mental thing at times. I mean, every aspect of baseball is mental. Hitting is not an easy thing to do, but let's say you go out there and you have a tough outing, you can't find the strike zone, or your defense lets you down behind you, whatever the case may be, it happens in this game. How do you personally get over a tough outing? Not that you've had one yet this year, but hopefully it doesn't happen all year. But if it does, what are your signs to get through a tough outing?
I mean, yeah, it's really tough, especially after you kind of struggle a little bit. But I think you just got to remember it's a game. At the end of the day, you just control what you can control and just enjoy it. You know, you can only do this for so long. A bad outing's a bad outing. It's going to happen. I think as baseball players, you just got to understand that failure is part of it, and it's how you bounce back after that. That's the biggest part, especially being a bullpen guy, because you're going to get a lot of opportunities.
One thing I would say is a positive about college athletics now, I think a lot of people that aren't used to the landscape now in college athletics with the transfer portal, they might not like how it is now, but you do have so many different stories of how people got to where they are. Your case, you started a big school at Texas A&M, We already mentioned that. Then you went the JUCO route, McLennan Junior College, right? That's how it's said? Okay. So you go the JUCO route. Take us through that journey, because you go from a blue blood College Station where you're packing out, Bluebell Ballpark every single night, to the JUCO route. Now you in backup at another blue blood at ASU. Pull out to us, long range. What's the journey been like?
So I actually started out as a hitter out of high school. I was highly recruited. Got to College Station my freshman year. Was rehabbing Tommy John surgery, and then I think about the second week I was there, they told me I needed to open up my hip, and I actually get hip surgery. So that whole freshman year, it was just grinding to get back on the field. It was an awesome place, met some awesome people down there, but just wasn't a right fit. Needed a year of development to play, so I went to McLennan, and that was probably the best decision of my life. You just wake up and play baseball, and so it was humbling going from a school like that to junior college, but it was truly an awesome experience.
Yeah, and you made it back to the big level. We're here with junior Lucas Kelly joining us here on Dugout Chatter with Willie Bloomquist. Lucas, I also want to ask you in terms of moving over from a hitter to a pitcher, and I've got a fun question for you on this in a moment, but mentality-wise, you've got singled in on one aspect of things. But in terms of in the batter's box, talk about a two-way guy like a Shohei Ohtani, or last night USC's closer was also a two-way guy. How much do you respect people that can do that at this high of a level?
I mean, it's tough. You got to be in shape to do it, because your body fatigues pretty quick when you do both. But I think the mentality is the same. You just got to go out there with just elite confidence in your stuff, in your swing, and just not second guess your work, and just whatever you did got you there. So
I'm assuming you'd say you're the best hitting pitcher.
Oh, 100%.
Who's second?
100%.
Who's second then? Who can put on a show in a BP session? So not live, but in BP.
Carlone doesn't count. I think he's still a two-way.
Okay, because that's who I had down was Carlone.
He's got some pop. That's a tough one. I only saw the pitchers hit during the Halloween game.
Right. Yeah, I figure that's not something you're really doing anymore, but
I feel like Josh Butler would have some pop.
Okay.
I mean, he's like 6'7".
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He's just got to touch it and it's going to fly. All right, I'll live with that. I want to ask about your arm slot. It's one of those 3/4 angles. I know it's deceptive for right-handed batters, and clearly it's thrown off lefties as well. When did you develop that arm angle in terms of delivering the ball the way you do?
I've thrown that way my whole life. People ask me that all the time, like, when did you lower your arm slot? But that's just kind of how my shoulder works and my body works, and I think I've done a really good job working with myself and Accardo, just understanding how my body works, and that's just where my arm works best. So,
did anyone ever try to change that? Any coaches try to switch that up for you?
No, because they loved it. I think in this day and age, especially in baseball, there's so much talent out there. You kind of want to be different. You want to stick out a little bit.
You got that natural sink as well.
Yeah.
That's obviously a weapon for you. That frisbee slider as well. Really nasty when it's dialed in. And I know between the arm angle, the sink on your fastball, the tough slider. Who taught you that pitch, and how do you feel that's been coming along for you?
Cardo worked with me this fall. I think when I got there, it was kind of a bigger, loopier pitch, and he was like, we need to get it a little faster. So just kind of keeping the mindset, just throwing a fastball and just kind of getting around it a little bit. But that's about it.
I've always been curious for a bullpen guy like yourself, your mindset. So let's say the game starts at 6:30. You've got Ben Jacobs on the mound. Let's say it's Friday night, right? What are you thinking around that first, second inning? When do you start to lock in? Like, what's the mentality as the game wears on?
Well, I think we're kind of lucky as back-end guys. I mean, I think the prep kind of starts in the second or third inning for a lot of us. I like to look at focus as kind of like a funnel. As the game goes on, you're kind of just getting closer and closer to game time. So around the third or fourth inning, that's when it really starts to ramp up. You're just watching the game, and each inning, your focus just gets more dialed in. So,
I'm curious one more time in terms of the bullpen. So you start locking in third, fourth inning, like you said. First inning, you just out there, talking with the boys. What goes down in the right field bullpen?
I'm usually not down there.
You're normally in the dugout still.
Yeah, I'm usually just talking with like Marty or something, eating some goldfish, some snacks. Just kind of
goldfish is the snack of choice.
Just talking, just watching the game.
I love that. Okay, we're joined again by Lucas Kelly, who again has been perfect in terms of not allowing a run through his first 10 appearances as a Sun Devil. Born and raised San Francisco. Your stops in college have taken you all over the country. I know we talked to Matt about this in the last segment, but how special is it being here now at ASU and being in a program with the storied history that it does have?
I mean, this is by far the nicest area I've been in, played in. I think there's an awesome community of fans and athletes here, and I couldn't have asked for a better place to be honest. Third school in 3 years, and this is by far the best spot, so I'm grateful to be here.
We got Matt King's big league inspiration, if you will, talking about Dustin Pedroia. For you, I know you were a hitter, but in terms of pitchers you may have looked up to growing up, who you got?
I was kind of tough because I was a hitter.
Yeah.
I never really pitched as a younger kid. But I would say pitchers, someone like Chris Sale, because he's different. He's sidearm. I'm not as sidearm as him.
Yeah.
But I see a lot of similarities, and I think he took his uniqueness and he took it a long way, and that's something I want to do in this game.
The show stash. It's big time, man. I actually talked about it on the broadcast last night when you got put in the game. I was like, dude, the mustache is for real. It is big time. Are we rolling with it all year? What's the status of the mustache?
This actually started when I was a hitter with Brandon Compton in the Northwoods. And,
Wow.
Me and him were struggling a little bit, and we're just like, we got to change it up a little bit. So we grew out the stash. We even dyed it at some point.
Oh, no.
And we started hitting, so it's just been there ever since.
What color did you dye it?
Jet black.
Oh, good Lord.
Jet black.
That's like the Reno 911 look, right? In terms of the Northwoods League, this is a great little segue. The summer ball is obviously super impactful for guys, especially JUCO players coming up. That's how you really get noticed a lot of the times. Your experience in the Northwoods, it's right up there with the Cape for being one of the more prestigious leagues you can go to. What was it like being up there?
Absolute grind. You're playing every day on the bus for 12 hours. It teaches you a lot about yourself because you're going to go through it at some point. And I played a full summer, so it was, I think, 72 games in 70 days. No rainouts, nothing. If it's raining up there, you're going to play at 2 a.m. So it's a grind. But that was another place I'm super grateful for because I struggled. I really struggled there, and I got through it. And
What'd you learn from those struggles?
it's just a game. You're going to fail. Like you can't take it too serious. I used to take failure really hard, and I think after that summer, I just realized I need to enjoy every step of this. And
Well, and it's clear you're enjoying your success so far, and the fans are too, Lucas. Hopefully you continue to ride that wave for the rest of the year. Big thanks for being here tonight. Good luck this weekend against Kansas.
Thank you for having me.
Big thank you again to Lucas Kelly joining us on the program. We'll be back to wrap things up tonight with Willie Bloomquist when we return on the Sun Devil Radio Network. Back to wrap things up on Dugout Chatter with Willie Bloomquist from Grass Clippings Rolling Hills on KDUS AM 1060. And big thank you to Matt King and Lucas Kelly for joining us on the program. Coach, in terms of what Lucas has done coming in, it was great to hear from him himself. But as a coach, getting the job done, coming out of the bullpen, a guy brand new to the program, what's impressed you the most in terms of what he's been able to do in his first 10 outings? I mean, it's been about as good as you could ask for.
Well, it's been outstanding, and he's done everything we've asked him to do. He's come in any situation that we've asked him to do and just does his job. He's very this kid has been through a lot. Some injuries, some different programs he's been to, and he's a young man we've had our eye on for a while, and in the past, and it finally worked out. We were able to get him here this year, and he's been outstanding. He's been one of those back end arms that we can count on to come in and slam the door on some people, and he's just done a great job. So we'll continue to run him out there, and his role continues to expand and get bigger and bigger as we move down the road here in the season. But he's done everything we've asked him to do.
He was just talking about his experience in the Northwoods League, and I know summer baseball is still a good place to find players or scout players now. It's not just for pro scouts. It can be for college coaches as well in a certain extent, whether it be on the Cape, even Alaska, wherever the summer league is. For you, summer baseball, what's that like as a coach now, especially with the transfer portal, in terms of watching players?
Well, it's important, because a lot of these guys transfer and they'll go to a big time school and maybe they don't get the playing time they want and they want to go test the waters somewhere else. And a lot of these guys that do end up transferring that we were on in high school and they make the wrong decision and go somewhere else, and then they ultimately decide to transfer and we go out and get a look at them during the summer and see them against good competition out there and see how they do. And we validate what we think or invalidate what we think, one or the other. And so it's important, for these guys to go out. But I think the biggest thing for a lot of these players is just to continue to play and continue to get experience. And, as you're finding, with our games this year early on, every single game is very tight and everyone's going to be a dogfight, to the 27th out. And, unfortunately, some of these guys that thought they were going to come in and play a lot, and that we were expecting to play a lot, just there hasn't been soft landings for a lot of these guys to get in. So as long as they're learning throughout the year, and then the summer is the time to go out and really get their reps and continue to play and develop. So there's two sides of the summer program, is that our guys get to go out and continue to play and work on stuff, and then obviously we have from a recruiting standpoint that we get to go out and watch guys and determine if they're going to be a good fit or not for us.
I should know this off the top of my head, but did you play summer ball?
My first year, after my freshman year, I played in the Northwest League, which was close to my home. That was kind of a, subpar league, I guess, for lack of a better term. It wasn't the Cape, it wasn't Alaska at that point in time. Was kind of those were the two big leagues during the summer. But we ended up playing in Alaska a little bit and made a tour up there. It was a good experience for me. And then the following year, I was supposed to go to the Cape and ended up I made the USA team that summer. So that took priority over the Cape.
Yeah, just a little bit better, I'd say, right? Let's go back and talk about your ball club now for a moment. The approach offensively, and that's something we've talked a lot about in segment one. We talked about it yesterday in our chat during BP before the USC game. But in terms of coaches, I know it's probably a bit exhausting having to continue to hammer that home, but it seems like that's just something you're going to have to keep doing, right?
Yeah, that's part of the job, and getting through to these guys and finding out what makes them tick. But, it's really believing in what you're preaching and teaching with these guys. And this isn't something that I just made up, and which gives me a lot of, something I learned when I was in college on hitting off the fastball. You're making sure you see spin up, you stay in the middle of the field. Those things that we just keep repeating over and over and over and over again. And it's something I learned when I was in college, had success with it, and took that approach, all the way through my minor league career to the big leagues. And then it was not just me, it was every good hitter that I would come across. If you want to talk to, Paul Goldschmidt or Edgar Martinez or Brett Boone or anybody that you want to come across, they have a very similar approach to that, if not the same, where they're always hitting off the fastball and trying to stay above the zone and stay in the middle of the field, a big part of the field. And it's not a gospel by any means, but that's going to give you the best chance for success over the period of time, over time. So, we're not making this up. And I think last year I had a young man, Harris Williams, on our team that came into my office, and I said, Harris, who do you want me to get on the phone and validate this? And scroll down my Rolodex, and I said, you want me to call Paul Goldschmidt? And he's like, do you think he'll answer? I said, yes, he'll answer. Of course. I know Goldie pretty well. So I called Paul, and I put him on speakerphone. I said, Goldie, give me your approach at the plate. And it was regurgitated verbatim exactly what I preached to these guys. And he looked at me like, wow, you're not full of it. You're actually, I'm like, I'm not making this up, man. This is what these guys, this is how the best hitters in the game, what they do. So just kind of trying to get them to buy in, and then seeing when they have success doing it, that it's just a matter of getting them to maintain that mindset and that approach every day.
I guess sometimes it just takes another voice. Maybe it's a Paul Goldschmidt.
Sometimes it does, for sure.
Let's talk about the crowd. Not only here tonight, we thank everyone that came out tonight, but in terms of the attendances we've seen so far this year, and specifically yesterday, I mean, it's a midweek game. Spring training's still going on. There's so many things you can do in the Valley, of course. It was a packed ballpark yesterday. I know that means a lot to the players, but in terms of what we're building here at ASU, the momentum the athletic department has as a whole, and then to see it packed out on a Tuesday night, I know you said to me in the in-game interview it was the biggest midweek crowd you've seen in your time here, but pretty impressive stuff.
That was awesome. And a big thank you to the crowd and the fans that came out last night. Again, I was if I'm being transparent, a little disappointed in the energy of our players. We got that big a crowd coming out on Tuesday night, and we put them to sleep. We didn't have a lot of flair and intensity when we came out, and just, man, I mean, if our offense wakes up and plays in front of that type of crowd, they're coming back. Those people are coming back and watching us play again. So that was a little bit disappointing from that front, but the crowd support has been amazing. The fan support's been awesome. We appreciated it. And I think the message I told our guys after that game was, man, this game matters to a lot of people, especially when it's a rival like USC that's continuing to. We're trying to keep those guys on the schedule and keep playing them. It matters. Like, so they're showing up on a Tuesday night to watch you. You gotta respond, and you're performing when you're out there, and come with a little more intensity next time when you have that opportunity. But I think lesson learned. They took the message hopefully to heart. But the fan support has just been outstanding, and we hope that continues this weekend against Kansas. We're going to need it. Kansas is playing very well. They're a tough team and playing extremely well. So the more home crowd we can get and more advantage we have, the better.
Yeah, they have a potent offense, put up over 30 runs a couple of weekends ago against Minnesota, a team you guys saw earlier in the non-conference. So in terms of, I guess, scouting the Jayhawks a little bit, expecting it to be another really good knockout series in Big 12 play, it seems like.
Yeah, they're going to be tough. Their Friday night starter he's real. He's got excellent stuff that will have our work cut out for us offensively, and their offense they're a power type offense, so they can hit the ball a long way. I think it was against Minnesota. I think they hit 5 straight home runs and 5 straight at bats. So these boys can put the ball in the seats a little bit. So we'll be challenged to execute our pitches from the offensive side of the ball, and then from the defensive side of the ball, and then offensively we're going to have to really stick to our game plan against these guys to have success. But it'll be a good test for our guys, and if I know this team like I think I do, I'm hoping they'll rise up to the occasion and to the level of competition. They know that Kansas has a good record and they're going to come in. So hopefully they'll view that as a challenge and step up to the occasion.
Friday night at 6:30, Saturday at 6:30, Sunday at 1 o'clock. We're joined again by ASU head coach Willie Bloomquist. Coach, I know there were some questions about Kian Vu and still hampered by that ankle injury. The cautious approach, obviously you're thinking big picture for the rest of the season. What are you thinking in terms of possibilities you might see him this weekend?
Well, I've been aggressive with it up until this weekend. He's been trying to play with it and been in some pain, but it assures me that, hey, I'm good to go. We've gone through all the tests with the doctors and done imaging on it, and they said you're not going to hurt it anywhere. It's just going to be a pain tolerance thing. So from that kid's standpoint, he wants to play. We tried to get him out there against U of A last week on Tuesday. He was limping around pretty good, and then Friday I tried to DH him just to get him through that game and see if we could make some progress, but it just didn't. It wasn't him. He's hampered by it. He's just not. When it's tough enough game to play, let alone when you're injured, and I felt it was the time and let's pull the throttle back on him. Let's try to get him healthy and get him over this hump with it, because I don't want him dealing with this all year. It takes away a major part of his game, which is the running game and being able to be an electric player and dynamic player. He's not able to do the things that makes him good as a whole. So I didn't think that was fair to him or our team, really, for that matter. So now it's just a matter of is he able to play? Maybe this weekend. It'll just be a matter of what he's capable of doing. If he's feeling great and ready to go, then obviously I'm going to have a hard time not playing him.
Sure.
But the last thing I want to do is have a setback and start back at square one again. Rather get over the hump on this, put it behind us, so we don't have to worry about it the rest of the year.
What about your Sunday start of the first couple Sundays of the year, Jaden Alba? Any update on that?
Jaden's been progressing very well. He threw a bullpen last week that went outstanding. He's going to throw another one tomorrow, which would put him in line to start Sunday if all goes well. We're optimistic about that, and we'll see how the ball comes out tomorrow at practice when he's throwing his bullpen, and then we'll go from there. But all indications are pointing in the positive direction for him.
That's great news. All right, Coach, one last one for you, and we talked about this in the player interview earlier on. March Madness, who you got in your bracket? Do you fill out a bracket?
Dude, I to be honest
You're
with
so
you,
locked in on this stuff, dude. Yeah.
Man.
This is testing the theory of everyone fills out a bracket. I thought I would get great answers here, but
You normally would on this one, and usually I do this, but I have not filled out a bracket.
Not Arizona, I'm guessing.
I will anybody but U of A.
Okay.
I will take.
Go Akron. That is what I say. Go Akron. Yes.
And this is the honest truth. Usually, I will fill this out, but this is our peak of our season right now, and I have not. I don't even know who's in the tournament this year. If ASU's not in it, I don't pay attention. So I know we're not unfortunately in it this year, but I won't pay attention much to it.
What I do know is that ASU baseball will play Kansas this weekend.
That's
6:30 Friday, 6:30 Saturday, 1 o'clock Sunday. We'll have this show next week as well. Jeff Munn will be filling in for me. I'll be gone, but the next week I'll be back. But show will go on with Jeff Munn next week. Coach, big thanks for joining us today.
You bet. And what I will say is I will be dialed in to Arizona State hockey with Greg Powers and the job that they're doing.
Great point.
You know, they're up. I think they're playing Denver this weekend,
Yes.
and that's going to be a dogfight. That was something that we followed those boys last weekend when we were down in Dallas. We were watching the game on our computer when we got home from our games, and man, what a run they're on. So let's keep that mojo going with those guys, and hopefully they can bring it home. That would be very cool for him.
They talk about mullet magic, Muni magic this weekend.
Let's go. We need both for sure.
Let's get it going. All right, Coach, big thank you. And a big thank you to the crowd for joining us tonight at Rolling Hills Grass Clippings. That'll do it for this week's edition of Dugout Chatter. We'll be back next weekend with Jeff Munn filling in.